thanks for coming out. Let me do this, and we'll see where we are after the end of this. I've got $300 bills that are all brand new. They are begging me to think of something cool to do. How about I'll take you downtown, spend them all on you. I don't want to stay home tonight. We have worked so hard for so many years, built a home, a life, a family, and 2 careers. Saved our money for the future, now the future's here. I don't want to stay home tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home, can't stay home. I need you and me, how it used to be. Every week on Friday night, there is so much history that only we can see. Can't stay home again tonight. Me and Michael, Johnny, Richard, Ruthie, and Joan all had bouts with cancer last year, you know. If cancer was a man, I'd punch him in the throat. I don't want to stay home tonight. 'Cause time isn't sentimental, it doesn't seem to care about your plans or your hopes and dreams. It just keeps track of your minutes and wipes the slate clean. I don't want to stay home tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home, can't stay home. I need you and me, how it used to be. Every week on Friday night, there is so much history that only we can see. Can't stay home again tonight. Well, I know we can't party like we did before. Can't stay out till 4 in the morning no more. But the house is paid off and the kids are all grown. What the hell have we been working for? Let's take a nap. Take our inhalers. Take a multivitamin. And then go out to hear some music with all of our friends who didn't die from the way we used to party back then. I don't want to stay home tonight, 'cause time isn't sentimental, it doesn't seem to care about your plans or your hopes and dreams. It just keeps track of minutes and wipes the slate clean. I don't want to stay home tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home, can't stay home. I need you and me, how it used to be. Every week on Friday night, there is so much history that only we can see. Can't stay home, can't stay home. I can't stay home again tonight. Thanks for coming out. I want to thank you for coming out, and not just coming out, but coming out in the nighttime. Do you remember when you were 17 and some old person said they don't like to drive at night? Remember what you were thinking? You're like what? Like what? I don't. Why? Because of the glare. Because of the what? The glare. So I want to thank you all for braving the glare and coming out and endangering all the other motorists out here on this side of 128. Appreciate it. You know, I have a lot of fans, but you are the daring ones. So here we go. I can feel the presence of a lot of Lynn people here. Like this is like kind of like like North Reading is this close to being like witness protection land from people from Lynn. Like there's so many of them here. They don't. So I'm gonna get this out of the way now. This is a song I wrote in the 70s about my town. When you write a song about Lynn, it's important to use a 3-chord primal rock and roll progression. That's to stimulate the latent barbarian in the audience. I was born in the city of Lynn, home of the first turbine engine, and as if that wasn't enough, it's also the home of marshmallow fluff. You can travel the whole country, you never find a bigger fluff factory. can I say? People from Lynn act this way. I don't talk slick like I'm from the hint. I'm son of a 30-year GE man. Don't be staring at me that way. I am from Lynn. What can I say? I used to hang around in Barry Park. That's illegal after it gets dark. Stand on the bleachers where things got smoked. Beer got chug-a-lug, bottles got broke. Later in the evening when the police come, 27 juveniles are on the run. Juveniles are running everywhere you see. Jumping over fences, climbing in trees. Don White is too loaded to get away. His name is in the paper on the next day. His mother and his father just can't believe he would publicly humiliate the family. I said, Mom from Lynn, what can I say? People from Lynn act this way. I don't talk slick, that's what I said. I'm not from Swampscott or Marblehead. Don't be staring at me that way. I'm from Lynn, what can I say? On the corner of every street, somebody's cooking something greasy to eat. Deep fat is frying everywhere you look. The town is bound for the record books. A million sub shops open all night long. A socio-intestinal phenomenon. I still think that's the best line I ever wrote. I pinnacled in the 70s. I'm from Lynn, what can I say? People from Lynn eat this way. There's no room in my stomach for French cuisine. Give me a bag of cheese curls and a submarine. Julia the child, get out of my way. I'm from Lynn, what can I say? That's how you know when a song's been around too long, when it actually has dead people in it. I left Lynn 10 years ago. I didn't know where I was gonna go. 10 of my friends were leaning up against a bar and grill. 10 years later, they're leaning there still. Half of my friends who are not on the street are dead, in jail, or annoying me. And I'm from Lynn, what can I say? People from Lynn act this way. I don't talk slick, that's what I said. They won't even let me into Marblehead. They're afraid I'll steal something. And I might. Don't be staring at me that way. I'm from Lynn, what can I say? All right. All right, I've been married for 43 years. Congratulate me. Come on. This is a song that I wrote after, what?
Say something about the live stream.
All right. Just Art messing up my time in here. Those people that are watching, both of you people watching on live stream at this time, welcome. I know there's a lot of glare out there, so you couldn't come down. But if you want to donate, like these good people who are here in person did, you can do that by going to Venmo, Don White Folk at Venmo. All right. Now, where was I? I've been married for 43 years. This is a song I wrote after my son went to college and my wife realized that there wasn't going to be any buffer between us anymore. It was a very difficult moment for Mrs. White, and she's so happy that I travel to great long distances like North Reading to share this story with groups of Caucasian strangers. Rascal is the dog, he ain't too bright. Me and Rascal were sitting on the couch last night when my woman come in and she started to cry. She looked at us with such terror in her eyes. She said, I have raised these children for 18 years while you, Don White, have done nothing. And now they're growing up and they're moving out of here, and my big reward for all that I've been through is this dog as dumb as mud. And you, yippee-yahoo. Rascal looked at me in disbelief. He said, she can't be talking about you and me. She's got us to spend the rest of her whole life with. Would you please tell her how incredibly lucky she is? And I said, who is gonna love you any better than this? Will wake you up every morning with big wet kisses when we hear the police sirens in your neighborhood. We throw our heads up in the air and we howl for you. It's a wild night in the library. And that's cool. You gotta admit, that's pretty cool. Well, you know, I don't believe we had succeeded in convincing her of the outrageous good fortune that had just befallen her. In fact, instead of looking happy as she could be, she looked a little bit, well, you know, suicidal to me. But hey, kids go to college, kids move away, but dogs and husbands, that's who stay. To you it seemed like a terrible trick of fate, but me and Rascal don't see it that way. We're thinking, ain't we cuddly, ain't we cute? We're both real funny, both real true. There's another thing about us that's very cool. If you scratch us on our belly, our left leg moves. And you gotta admit that's cool. Art, I think I'm scaring some of the new people. Well, okay, so maybe we ain't that smart. We're a couple of months with a lot of heart. New people, this is what I look like when I'm flirting. And when I need new medication. But no one could ever love you better or give you more loyalty than this dog. As dumb as mud. Than this dog as dumb as mud. Than this dog as dumb as a mud. And me, how lucky can one girl be? She's got a dog like you and a man like me. We'll be together well into this next century. Put that knife down, baby. Rascal, I don't think Mom is too happy. Maybe we should sing for her. She always likes that. Appears to be at least a couple of potential canines in the audience this evening. Maybe if we told them about the domestic difficulties that we're having on the home front, they might chime in and sing along. You know, in a lot of communities, if you heard a bunch of people in a library howling at the top of their lungs, might draw some attention, but Art's been doing folk music and poetry and all kinds of peculiar things in this building here for quite a while, and the neighbors are getting used to weird sounds out there. So let's just howl and see if we can shake them up over at the pizza place down the street, all right? Let's cause an incident in North Reading. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so I'm going to tell you a story now, just a little bit about my daughter, then I'm going to sing a song that I wrote for her. First of all, this song I wrote after we had this fight one day, my daughter and I. I mean, my daughter is so much like her dad that when I look at her, I am simultaneously charmed and horrified. And she only wanted boyfriends that needed fixing. Did you ever see a girl like that before? She's like, and she like, if you were gonna go to college and be able to provide for your family, you were invisible to her. She could not see you. But if you were sleeping in your car or something like that, she was like, boing, boing. And I love that about her. She has a big heart, a kind heart, and she used to bring in all these strays, and they'd be sleeping on my couch. And I'm not making this up. My wife would be bringing them to their court dates. But I love them. I love them all. I have a place in my heart for and I love the fact that my daughter, you know, I don't know. I was hoping she'd grow out of that, you know, only, you know, I can fix him, you know, that thing. But anyway, she had this one that she that I liked a lot. And the thing that about our family in Lynn, if you know anything about us, any Lynn person will tell you this, is that there's two things you need to know about us. One, if we're picking on you, that means we like you, right? And if we're quiet, you really should leave. And so I like this kid a lot, and so I picked on him. I was teasing him, which is how we show love in our family, which takes a little getting used to, but eventually you warm up to it. So I gave him a nickname. I called him Footnote. Was my nickname. And he would knock on the door, and my daughter, I'd answer the door, and I go, Ariel, your footnote is here. And she'd come down, and he'd go like, hey, Ariel, why does your dad call me Footnote? And my daughter, who has the same attitude problem that we all have, likes to tease, she goes, well, my dad has this theory that when the book of my life is written, there's going to be a little asterisk next to your name. And my daughter was like my mother. My mother and my daughter were like, I am descended from and have raised and I'm married to just like punks, like women that are just strong and tough and no nonsense and like that. And my mother was that way. And let me tell you, I'm going totally off script here, one day my daughter was doing bad in school. She was doing good, and all of a sudden she got like a C and a D in school, and we were in a crisis. Like it was the 7th grade, in a crisis. We go over to my mother's house, and this is just to show you what I'm descended from, so you can put that in your mind for what's going to happen the rest of the night here. You can see the background for it. So we go, Ma, she was doing straight A's and B's. Now she got a C and a D. We don't know. Should we call should we bring it to a psychiatrist? Should we do the counseling? Ma, what do you think counseling? My mother gave me this look. And as soon as I saw it, it put a chill through me because I knew I was over my head. I knew that she was going to, right. So she went upstairs and she came downstairs. And here we're having this crisis. And she hands my daughter one of my report cards. D, D, F, F, D, D. And she's laughing and laughing. I'm like, Ma, this is a crisis. She's going, I've been waiting 20 years for this moment. That really happened. All right, so I wrote this song after my daughter and I had this fight one time. And I wrote it for myself to remind myself that I'm supposed to be the adult in these situations. And we've been listening to me now for about 20 minutes, and I think that we're all in agreement that being the adult has been one of my strong points over the years. So I wrote this and I laid the lyrics on her pillow. And I want you to remember that. If you know anybody that's having trouble with a teenager, this is a really smart thing. I learned it from a high school student who was bringing me around to classes in the school to sing. And her mother wrote to each other during the time when they couldn't talk to each other, and they would leave what they had to say on each other's pillow. And it's really smart because when you go to write something down, some part of you knows that this thing could live longer than you, so you tend to be more thoughtful about what it is. So I wrote the lyrics down, I laid it on her pillow, and the idea of the song is this trouble that we're having is normal. You know, if your kid doesn't make you crazy, you have to take the kid to a doctor to find out what's wrong with them. That's their job. They have to make you crazy. And this time when we're fighting and it seems so hostile, it's going to be over in a couple of years. Let's try not to say anything to each other that's so hurtful that it will last longer than the difficult time. Because that can happen. You can say, I hate you. All kinds of things can come out of your mouth when you're in a fight. So I hope you like this. I yelled, I screamed, I swore, and she slammed her bedroom door. The house was completely still, and in that silent chill, I began to feel and hear the sounds of my own teen years. Didn't I always say my home would not feel this way? come in. Hey, can we start again? There's just too much at stake for us to keep on this way. If this family explodes today and the wounded go their own way, when the time comes to heal, will we still be here? The pain in my mother's eyes the day that her father died was born in her teenage years of wounds that never healed. Your life keeps on calling you. You hear it call, I do too. It gets louder all the time. I know it won't be denied, but there's just a few short years where we will both live here for this precious and fleeting time. Let me see those brown eyes shine. The pain in my mother's eyes the day that her father died was born in her teenage years of wounds that never healed. If we make a deal today to stop making their mistakes, when the time comes to say goodbye, you won't have my mother's eyes for this precious and fleeting time. Let me see those brown eyes shine. Okay. I thought you said this guy was funny. What the hell was that? Imagine if that was the last song of the night, right? And your friends are coming to pick you up outside, and they're like, hey, how was that comedian guy? It was the worst comedy show! It was a bait and switch. All right, let's get back to fooling around. That serious stuff makes me emotional. I'm old and emotional now. So I've written 2 books. The second book I wrote recently is called The Hitchhiking Years. My wife and I left Lynn, Massachusetts in 1974, right out of high school, and hitchhiked for 3 years. You believe that? And we're still together. Look, there's a picture of us on the back. We went down to the Linway and stuck our thumbs out just for this photograph. She told me, she goes, the only place I'm hitchhiking to has to have room service. We hitchhiked for 3 years, 60,000 miles, and when we were leaving Lynn, people would say to us, are you afraid you're going to meet rude people out there in the world? Not ruder than these people. And the truth is, we met, everybody was nice to us. I mean, we weren't naive, you know, we met people that would try, mostly what happened that wasn't, mostly it was everything was awesome. People were kind, you know, but occasionally, people would try to get rid of me and keep my girlfriend, which, you know, that happened to me in Lynn too. It was no, I didn't have to go anywhere for that, you know, that was no big surprise. But mostly we got used to people being kind to us, strangers, you know, and so it kind of shaped us. This other book is an older book. It's called Memoirs of a C Student. Memoirs of a C Student. It took 5 years to write this book. 5 years. If I was a B student, I could have done it in a week, probably. And on the back of this book, I put quotes from, like I saw that other people on the back of their books, they put quotes from important people on there, and I wanted to do that, but I had a huge problem. I don't know any important people. And so I just put quotes from my family on here. Let me give you a couple of them. So this book's called Memoirs of a Sea Student, and here's a quote from my brother, Michael White, who drives a forklift at Logan Airport. Actually, he just retired recently, and he's a very astute observer of the world. Very astute observer of the world, and these are his observations on his brother's alleged memoir entitled Memoirs of a Sea Student. This is from Yaki, my brother Michael. I knew that this book was going to be a pack of lies as soon as I saw the title, because my brother was a D student. And here's another quote from my wife, Teresa, who grew up in a place called Kerwin Circle Federal Housing Projects in Lynn, Massachusetts. And she's brought many interesting character traits from her childhood in federal housing into her adult life. The one that is most represented here is one I like to refer to as a fundamental absence of subtlety. And these are her 7 words that she left for posterity. She thought long and hard about these 7 words because she knew that people who aren't even born yet were going to read this, and she wanted them to know how she felt about this enterprise and the person who wrote it. This is from my wife, Teresa McDermott from Kerwin Circle. This thing better make lots of money. Now I'm going to read something. I'm going to read something I never write because I normally play in places that are not like Lynn. And this is not like Lynn, but there's enough of you scattered around here to sort of infect the rest of the people. And so the reason I don't do it is because sometimes when I'm done reading something like this about my childhood or about what it was like to go to school, people are concerned about my well-being after. I want you to know I'm okay. And this is about going to Breed School, the Breed, and I went to the elementary too. So I was in this building. It was built in 1906, and I was there from the 1st grade to the 9th grade. And it's okay. I appreciate the interaction, but just think of me as a television. Okay? Your television may ask you a question, but if you answer it, it says more about you than it does the television. No. So that's okay. So this is about Breed School, and I used to dream. I was in there from the 1st grade to the 9th grade. I like it, you know, and it was an old building. So here we go. First of all, in those days, they call it middle school now, but it was called junior high school then, and this was the 60s. And so if you were in the 7th grade and you were going to college, they would put a letter next to your grade. You would be in 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D. That meant you were on the college track. If you were going maybe to business school, you would be in 7, E, F, G, or H. My class, 7I. It was kind of a containment area. The floors creaked, the stairs were made of metal. The glass in the door that swung open to the stairwells had been broken so often that the administration had begun using a special type of replacement glass that had chicken wire inside of it. This is pre-plexiglass. That's how old I am. I'm older than plexiglass. The desks and the chairs had been there since 1906. They each had a cast iron bases that were bolted to the floor. The school administration began replacing them in 1969 with the non-stationary type after the class of 7J. Don't even ask me about 7J. 7J was like a work release program. Where was I? The school administration began replacing them with the non-stationary type after the class of 7J discovered that the structural integrity of the classroom floor could be significantly compromised if everybody rocked back and forth at the same time in their bolted down chairs. The desks were made of wood. Each one had a hole in the right top hand corner that had once held an inkwell. The tops were engraved with witticisms from previous generations of Westland adolescents. These pearls of wisdom were often carved so deeply into the wood that you would have to place your work paper on whatever section had the shallowest carvings so your pencil wouldn't fall into a crater and tear your paper. The boys' room was a testimonial to 19th century engineering. Each toilet had a pull chain that would release water from a holding tank above the stall. There were no urinals. Instead, there was a 6-foot-high, 10-foot-long wall of slate. That's right. It had a thin, perforated copper pipe running horizontally across the top, and from holes in this pipe, small, steady streams of water sprayed out and kept the pea wall wet. And at the base was a small trough with a drain at one end. Everyone in 7I and 7J had one thing in common: bad grades. But aside from this lack of scholastic achievement, we were a fairly diverse group. There were some good-natured slow kids who would now be diagnosed with learning disabilities, but in the 60s, we're just called stupid. Again, this is where in the suburbs it gets a little tense. I love everybody. Don't, just relax. Okay, now, there were quiet kids who had a home life that was so messed up that they were not capable of concentration. And then there was a group of 6 or 7 really tough girls. This was my first exposure to young women whose destiny included significant jail time. They were always late for class. I suspected that their perpetual tardiness was intentional because they so loved to make the big entrance. These young ladies all had a God-given natural talent for drama. Miss Jones, you're late again. Don't sit down. Just go straight to the principal's office. Miss Jones ignores him, brushes off his commands like an insect from her shoulder, and sits at her desk. This may be the only few moments this month that Mr. Lewis will have the undivided attention of his entire student body. As a group, we place our elbows on our desktops, lean forward, rest our faces into our open palms, and watch intently as the familiar scene unfolds. Mr. Lewis repeats his command. Before he is half finished, Miss Jones lifts up her desktop and hides her head behind it. I am behind her, and I can see by her face how thoroughly she is enjoying both ignoring Mr. Lewis and the attention it has brought her. He walks to her desk. He shuts the desktop, and in so doing, accidentally touches her shoulder. Okay, boys and girls, now it's show time. She leaps out of her seat, and with a head-bobbing swagger invented and perfected by 7th grade tough girls, she screams, "Don't you touch me! Don't you ever touch me! Who do you think you are?" He repeats his command for her to get out of his class, and with every eye on 7I fixed upon her, she struts to the exit, sweeps a stack of math books off a table en route, slams the door behind her, and disappears into the hallway. We are ready to give a round of applause and a standing ovation to Miss Jones for her performance, but the beet red face of Mr. Lewis, counterbalanced by a throbbing blue vein at each temple, warns us against it. I remember thinking that whoever had the good fortune to marry the lovely Miss Jones could expect to see a grown-up version of this performance played out upon occasion in a restaurant or two during the course of their marriage. All right, I'm going to sing another song. We'll take a little break. Hey, hang on a second. Don't interrupt me, okay? Just let me work, okay? I love you. You know I love you, all right? But let me work. So I'm going to take a little break, and then I'll have some books and stuff for sale back there, CDs, and then if anybody's here after the intermission, I'll play some more. But I think I get paid no matter what happens, so I'm good. No pressure on anybody. So not sure what to do. All right. Here. In in Massachusetts, where we live, weed is legal, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad about it, but I don't use it myself. Let me just say this clearly. I don't use it myself, but I'm glad it's legal. I'm glad nobody's going to jail. In my childhood, when you remember me, I was something of a legend, really, when it came to that stuff. But now I don't do it, but I'm okay with it, and I'm glad that nobody's going to jail for it. Is that clear? Is everybody clear that I said that how I feel about this? Okay. But now, because it's legal, you remember when it was quasi-legal? Remember that? When you had to get your doctor to lie for you? Remember that? Like, Dawn has glaucoma and some anxiety, so I'm prescribing 2 ounces of sticky Hawaiian bud for Dawn, like that. But now you just walk in the store and buy it, right? And I'm okay with that, although I don't use it. And what I'm concerned about is 2 things. I came early here today because I wanted to talk to people. I love conversation. I see people that I haven't seen for a long time. I want to talk to them and listen to what they have to say. I love conversation, and the kind of conversation that I'm the fondest of is the kind where the person you're talking to can remember what you just said. I love that kind of conversation. I'm a huge fan of it. And so my concern now is for 2 things. One is for conversation. The other one's for joggers. Like right now, if you leave your house in West Lynn and you drive, like, you can't go anywhere in Lynn and not smell pot. It's like coming out of churches and kindergartens and police cars. And like you go up to an intersection, there's 4 other cars and smoke's pouring out of all the cars, and you're like, go ahead. And they're like, oh no, man, you go. I don't even care about that. But if you're jogging, and you're jogging past the churches and the kindergarten, the intersection, you leave your house totally sober, and you come back like with a 4-pound bag of Doritos, and binge watching sitcoms from the 70s for the next 7 hours. I don't even care about that. I'm concerned about conversation. And so those of us that like focused conversation, where the people can remember what you say, and they think about it, and then they say something appropriate to the conversation. Those of us that like that kind of conversation in these days now, I think we're going to have to go underground. We're going to have speakeasies. We'll call them Speak Coherently Easies. And, all right, so here we go. I sat around with... Oh, wait a second. Do I got all my stuff on? Yep. Am I good? I sat around with a bunch of stoners. I listened to them talk all night long. They were sure that their conversation was deep with meaning. They were wrong, 'cause when you smoke it, it makes you stupid. I thought you knew it, but I was wrong. We're not having a conversation. This is nothing at all. All right, let's do that Pete Seeger style. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I'll say the words and then you sing them back to me. It'll be like Kumbaya, only cooler, okay? Because when you smoke it, it makes you stupid. It makes you stupid. I thought you knew it. I thought you, but I was wrong. We're not having a conversation. This is nothing. This is nothing at all. My friend Harry lit up a fatty to celebrate my brand new job. I watched his brain float out of my window. I was still talking, but he was gone. When you smoke, it makes you stupid, it makes you sick. I thought you knew it, I thought you knew, but I was wrong, we're not having a conversation. This is nothing at all. All right, I have to get into character for this part. It's going to be 1976. I'm 19 years old. I'm down my friend's parents' basement. They're gone for the weekend. All my friends are there. There's a lot of smoke. I'm looking through the haze across the room to my best friend, and I can tell by the blurry face on the other side of that smoke of my friend. I could tell by the look on that blurry face that he just had a thought so deep and so profound and so meaningful that when he speaks, this thought that he has, if I am only wise enough to take the wisdom in this thought and apply that wisdom to my life, it will change the entire trajectory of my entire existence. So let me get into character. I'm going to droop my eyes a little bit. I'm going to slow the song down to stoner speed. It's too fast still, isn't it? Okay, wait a second. Here you go. Here comes. What if our whole life was just a dream, man? What if we're dreaming this right now? I forgot what I was just saying. Let's order pizza. Pizza. Wow, cause when you smoke it, it makes you stupid, it makes you. I thought you'd do it, I thought you'd, but I was wrong, We're not having a conversation, This is nothing, this is nothing at all. It cures glaucoma. It cures insomnia. Some people say that it is a cancer cure, but it does not cure incoherent conversation, that's for sure. Let's order pizza! Nancy's watching. Hi, Nancy. Nice to see you, Nancy. Get well soon, Nancy. Love you. Much love to you. All right. So it doesn't look like we lost too many. That's a first here at the. Generally, we have, what do you call it, attrition at this point. I overheard a man complaining how his 401k was not performing quite how he would like it to. As he sipped his double latte and continued to complain, I thought about that day in 1982. We were living in the shack with the outhouse in the back. If I'm not mistaken, you were pregnant too. We thought it might be funny to count all of our money and discuss all the investing we could do. We pulled our pockets inside out, pulled our cushions off the couch, stuck our fingers down deep inside, and then we emptied out the pockets of the jackets in our closet, but not one single penny did we find. So after the realization our financial situation was not conducive to investment at this time, we decided to invest in what we've always done best. We danced around the kitchen for a while. We do the victory dance. When life is such a mess, we don't know what else to do. We do the victory dance. When being penniless became literal to me and you. Well, you can jump off of a building, you can take a bunch of pills, and you can walk around in a trance. But if you wake up in the morning on the right side of the lawn, go on, do the victory dance. Fired from a job I had been working at for 20 years faithfully. Oh dear, oh God, oh my, how will I ever survive without a corporation taking care of me? I was so stressed out for weeks, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I didn't think that things would ever turn my way. And then a couple months went by, I began to realize, man, I really hated working at that place. So I started working for myself, I improved my mental health. Now I'm happier than I've ever been before. Oh dear, oh my, oh God, I should have quit that stupid job 19 years ago. I do the victory dance when my life forces me to go out on my own. And then I just declare victory and I march my army home. There are things you can't control, things you'll never know. Some things are always always left to chance. If you're a clerk or you're a farmer, work from home in your pajamas to do the victory dance. When your life forces you to go out on your own, just declare victory and then march your army home. There are things you can't control, things you'll never know. Some things are always left to chance. But if you wake up in the morning on the right side of the lawn, if you're a clerk or you're a farmer, work from home in your pajamas. If your health is getting worse, but you can still flirt with the nurse. If you lose your money, but you still got your honey. If you lose your honey, but you still got some money. If you find it hard to cope because the kids are all on dope, don't surrender yet. Try not to forget in this game of life we're in. In this game of life we're in. In this game of life that we are in. If you don't die, you win. All right, let me tell you about my life. My career goes forward despite me. And one of my people who did booking for me is here tonight, Kirsten. She'll tell you that. I have no plan, no nothing. I just wake up one day and something that I was doing that nobody had any interest in, I just thought was interesting. All of a sudden, somebody in some far-flung part of the world wants to pay me to do it. I'm going to Nebraska next week. I was in Nebraska 4 months ago, and I'm going to Nebraska again in June. I am huge in Nebraska! You think I could have ever predicted that? I might be the only person on earth who ever spoke that sentence. So that's the way it works for me. I have no plan, no nothing. I just get interested in things. At one point in my life, I was so fascinated with silent movies and comedians that were funny and never talked. Like I'd be studying Harpo Marx and all these people, and I had management at the time, and they were saying to me, John, I know you're all excited about this, but you tell us how, Kirsten, this would be something for you too, you tell us how it helps us get you work by telling the club owner that you love silent movies. I didn't care. I just thought it was fascinating. I just would rewind like Charlie Chaplin and the old Jackie Gleason show. Old Jackie Gleason show. A lot of that stuff was silent, like the Poor Soul and all that. And I'd just be like, how can I be always knowing what's going on and laughing my head off and nobody's ever talking? I was just mystified by it, and spent 6 months of my life. You know, Harpo Marx has a thing. So as an audience, I assume lots of times I'm playing, I look out and I start talking about the Marx Brothers, and nobody knows what I'm talking about because they're not 100 years old. But anyway, or researchers of old comedy. But anyway, Harpo Marx has a look that when he's about to do something naughty, like chase the girl or whatever, he has this look like this, like. Right? Like you don't need to be able to hear anything to know that something naughty's going to happen after that. That is a universal language. And I just, at the end of it, I didn't get any more work, but I understood more about facial expressions and body language and whatever. So my show used to be songs with little stories in between them. And then over time, because I like talking, it became stories with little songs in between them. And I didn't know that there was such a thing as a storytelling festival. Did you know there was such a thing as a storytelling festival? Well, I didn't. I thought storytellers told stories to children. I thought that their headshot, their promotional shot, looked like this. Right? Puppet on this hand, available for kindergartens, right? But then I get this gig in Tennessee, and I'm telling you, if you don't remember anything that I say tonight, which the age that you are, there's a good chance that's possible. My audience is my age, so short-term memory loss is a factor. All right, so if you remember one thing, remember this. The National Storytelling Festival in Jonesboro, Tennessee. It's a bucket list thing. You have to go to it. I don't know how I got there. We go down there. My wife comes with me. It's near Asheville, North Carolina. It's in Tennessee, but it's near North Carolina. And Asheville's this hip town. And my wife's a snob. She doesn't like folk music. Who could blame her? She likes jazz. She's a snob, right? It has to be good. And she's like, you do your storytelling thing. Put my name on this rental car. I'm going to Asheville. Right? So the night before, we're walking around this town, this little town in Tennessee, and there's 5 tents, 2,000 seats in this tent, 1,500 in this thing. The smallest one has 1,000 seats in it. We're like, who's gonna sit in all these seats, man? And then we're thinking maybe they do them one at a time. The next day, 20,000 people come from all around the world and converge on this town, Jonesboro, Tennessee. It's in October, and every one of those seats was filled, and all the tents were bursting at the sides. At the same time, all of them, so 2,000, you do the math, 2,000, 2,000, 1,500, 1,500 like that, all those people like that, and they're just sitting there like this, and they've been coming to this thing since the 60s, and they know everything about storytelling, and you can talk, but can you tell a story, Mr. White? And so I went there, and it went so well, not because I knew anything about it, I didn't, I just had been lying to audiences like you for so long that I got good at it. And I got 11 other festivals out of it. So that's my career. I get 11 festivals in a world that I didn't know existed, right? And there are places I never went before, like Kentucky and Alabama. Mr. White, we truly do love your program. I'm like, you are killing me, ladies. So I'm telling you all this to tell you this part. There's no moral to this thing. I'm just marveling at the surrealness of my existence. So one of the gigs I got was in Utah, right? And the people there were so nice, all Mormons. I didn't know much about Mormons, but they couldn't have been any nicer. And I was nervous because they pay so well. Like they fly you there, they give you thousands of dollars, and you don't have to pay for nothing. They put you in a hotel, they drive you around, they feed you. They do make you go to the Mormon Tabernacle Church, but it's a small price to pay, I guess. So I want them to keep hiring me. I want this money. This is really good money. And the people are friendly and nice, so the whole thing was good, right? So I call the woman up and I go, I know what not to say in every place that I play. I have taken some liberties with that this evening, I just want to know. But I know if I'm in a Unitarian church or a Club Passim where everybody's hipster and all that, I know what not to say. I know not to talk about how much I love the military-industrial complex. If I'm in some other place, it's all conservatives, I know what not to say, Democrats, Republicans, educated people, I know to, not talk, talk in a language that everybody can understand. I know what to do. I go, but Mormons, I don't know. You got to help me. And she goes, just send me the material. So I sent her all the material that I thought would be a problem. And a lot of it was about when my daughter was a teenager, how she was driving me crazy, right? And I thought that would be something that might be a problem. Why are you picking on teenagers? They can't defend themselves. You're punching down, all that. She calls me back. She goes, we love that material. I go, are you sure? I go, are you sure? I don't want to get out to Utah and then have people coming up and telling me that I'm, defending defenseless teenagers, like that. She goes, no, we love it. She goes, but that song, Rascal, do you remember that song, Rascal, I played earlier? Yeah. She goes, that song has the word suicidal in it, and you can't say that. And I said, thanks for telling me. I would never have known that. And so, everybody here is going to understand this because I've been talking long enough for you to understand me, I think. Now, even to this point now, I'm 67 years old. I'm going to be 68 pretty soon. I still haven't figured out how not to say the thing that I think is funny that will ruin everything. Do you know what I mean? So she says to me, you can't say suicidal. So, and as soon as I said this thing I'm about to say to you now, I seen it leave my lips, and I was trying to grab it and push it back in there, do you know what I mean? Because I knew it was bad. I knew it was the wrong thing to say, right? So she goes, you can't say suicidal. I go, how about if I change it to homicidal? And there it went. was this long pause, and I could see my new, highly lucrative storytelling career falling away. I could see it dissipating and disappearing because of my stupid West Lynn wise ass of mouth that I can't control, right? So I'm just sitting there and I'm having an existential crisis. Now I really needed this money and you had to say that and now you're never gonna get another gig. I'm thinking like that. There's this long pause and then finally the woman goes, "That'll be fine." I'm not making this up. That'll be fine. So I'm thinking to myself, how surreal is this? I don't try to make sense out of it. It doesn't make any sense. You can't kill yourself, but you could kill everybody else. That's all right. Whatever. So a month later, I'm in Utah, and I'm playing for 6,000 Mormons, 6,000 outdoors. And again, I just want to say this clearly because the internet, these things go everywhere. The people were the kindest, nicest people. I couldn't have enjoyed it any more than I did. They were beautiful. It was just a different world for me. I was off balance. I didn't know where the landmines were in this place, right? But they couldn't have been nicer. They're just beautiful, beautiful people, right? So now I'm in front of 6,000 Mormons outside a big amphitheater, 6,000, and they're beautiful and lovely. But just to be fair, to me, this is just an observation, but it looked to me like they all were wearing the same shirt. That's okay, didn't bother me. And I'm standing underneath a 40-foot jumbotron of Dawn White, right? And I'm in short shirt and shorts. My meat is flapping 40 feet up there, right? It looks like the wind could fly me out of there, right? And I'm singing now to 6,000 Mormons in the same shirt, and I'm singing, I get to the song, and that song, you know, it's the people howl in it, right? Yeah. So I have to be the only person on earth that can say the sentence, "I was howled at by 6,000 Mormons." It's surreal, and that's like another level of surreal, isn't it? And then I sing the song, and I change the words, and it feels a little homicidal to me. So that's all I got to say. I don't know how to wrap it up. I don't know anything. That's just what happened. Our kids are grown. They're both in their 20s. They live at home. They are never gonna leave. And why should they go? They've got a good ear, you know. Their food, their phone, their rent is free. They would have to be out of their minds to leave. But I was thinking, what if things were different? You know, living here at home with you and me. What if we decided we could act like they both did when they were in their teens? So wake up, mama, climb out of this window. I've got the key, let's steal our daughter's car. We'll both get really drunk, we'll put a big dent in her trunk, and we'll drive real fast on the thoroughfare. If we get a speeding ticket, hey, we won't care. We'll be the ones up all night acting wild. They'll be the ones up all night worrying. Wake up, mom, climb out of this window. Come on out, be 16 with me. Picture our kids calling all of our friends up and asking them if they know where we are. Of course, all our friends will lie and say they ain't seen us all night, but we'll be standing right beside them while they're on the phone, smoking and drinking and carrying on when we come strolling home on Sunday morning. You know, around 10 o'clock while the neighbors walk to church. Our kids will ask us where we've been, and then they'll ask us again, and we will just make up a great big lie and swear that it's the truth until the day we die. And they'll be the ones trying to find the truth out, and we'll be the ones lying through our teeth. And and under pressure will confess that we had unprotected sex. That will gross them out so much they might just start to think about moving out. Let that sink in for a minute. Just the visuals of it. Their turnabout is fair play in this life. And what better way to encourage them to live than to give them both a dose of what it was like to live with them when they were in their teens. So wake up, mama, climb out of this window. I have got the key. Let's steal our daughter's car. We'll both get really drunk. We'll put a big dent in her trunk. And no one will know where we are until we come home in a police car. We'll be the ones up all night acting wild. They'll be the ones up all night worrying. Well, Mom, climb out of this window. Oh man, be careful. You're not as young as you used to be. That's 40 feet down there. I should have brought a ladder, probably. You know what? The kids are all drunk and passed out. Let's just go out the front door. Come on out and be 16 with me. All right, so how you doing? You getting tired? No. I am. I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to tell a story, and then I'm going to sing a song, then I'm going to tell another little brief story, and then I'm going to play a song after that, and that's going to be the fake ending of the show. Let's review. Story, song, short story, another song. It's that song, the fake ending of the show, and then after I play that song, the fake ending of the show, normally I would go backstage and wait for encore. I guess I could run to the bathroom, maybe. What is it, 28 degrees out? I'm not going out there. So when I get to the fake ending of the show, I'm just going to stand here like this. If you'd like me to play another song, make a lot of noise, I'll come back. Wah! But if you've had enough, believe me, I would understand that. Just go. It's all right. I got the money. I'm happy. So, story. This is a story I'm practicing for my second of 3 trips to Nebraska this year. That's right. Give me a rectangular state any time of the year. All right? You know, some people vacation in the Bahamas in February. Nebraska is not that popular a vacation spot for that. All right. So I moved in the 70s, in the late 70s, I moved to the state of Maine. And I moved to Maine because I wanted to become famous. It was the first in a series of really questionable business decisions on my part. It was like moving to the moon to become famous. And I had been hitchhiking with my wife for 3 years before that. So I didn't have any marketable skills. I didn't go to college. I did not do anything. I wasn't a plumber. I was an excellent hitchhiker, but nobody was hiring hitchhikers at that point. And so we moved up there, and I think it was 1979. The end of 79. And the people that lived up there, they hated us. They call us flatlanders. Have you heard that? That's right. It's not a term of endearment. I'll explain to you the translation of it, because I lived there long enough to be able to translate that term. It means, you ain't from here. You ain't ever gonna be from here. Stop acting like you're from here. And go back to wherever you came from. Flatlander. And the guy, but at first we thought that they hated us, but then we realized that we were also, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but we were definitely supplying them with some much needed entertainment for their lives up there in the quiet of Maine. And we could picture like the town meeting and say, all right, in the winter pool, who's got January 15th for the date that those 2 hippies freeze to death in that house over there? And the guy that lived across the street from us, his name was Wilbur, and he tortured us with that Flatlander stuff. Tortured us, but he was also nice to us. And we had seen this before. It happened hitchhiking. And people in Idaho would pick us up, and they would tell us they don't like us, they don't like our lifestyle, they don't like our place in society, they don't like anything about who we are or what we're doing. And when the whole time they're saying that to us, they're feeding us, taking us home, giving us a place to sleep, giving us money, being kind. So kindness and disdain walking side by side like that, right? So Wilbur was that way. He would torture us. You ain't from here. You ain't ever going to be from here. Anything we needed, he would fix it. The walk, you know what? So we lived in a house across the street from him, and his house had no running water and a 2-seater outhouse, a 2-seater. Now, my parents have had infinite amount of opportunities to be disappointed in my decision making over the years. But the 2-seater outhouse was a bridge too far for them. They couldn't take it. They couldn't take it. They would just look at it with their mouths open, like that. And I would say, Dad, you and Mom can hold hands out here. My dad is from Lynn. He's like a World War II rigger at the GE, dirt under his fingernails, pulled chain all his life, hung around post 6, bartender, you know, that guy, cigarette, right, you know, like that. And he's looking, and he's like, what are you doing up here? I'm like, Dad, it's the 70s. I'm trying to get back to the earth, dude. And he's like, you know, like, I think he smoked Kent. He had a Kent like this, and he's looking at the 2-seater outhouse, and he just heard me saying, I'm trying to get back to the earth, dude. And he takes a big drag like this. He goes, well, I don't know what that means. But if it means being dirt poor the rest of your life, you're doing a hell of a job. My son was born in that house, 1980, in the building, right? And my son was born in a house with no running water in 1980, with a midwife and a technician came to the house. So prenatal care, postnatal care, and delivery in the house. Total cost $400. I had like a Walmart baby. And when he was born, we brought him over to Wilbur because we were cocky now. We're like, Wilbur, you can say what you want about us. Ain't from here, ain't ever gonna be from here. Flatlanders. I go, but this kid is a Mainer. He was born in Maine. In that house across the smoky window full of cigarette smoke in your house, where if you squint your eyes and look, he was born in that house across the street. I go, there's nothing that you can say that makes this kid not a Mainer. And he said this to me, and to this day, almost 68 years old, it is still the funniest / meanest thing I ever heard in my life. I go, Wilbur, this kid was born in Maine, he's a Mainer. And he said, well, if your cat crawls in the oven and has kittens, you don't call them biscuits now, do you? I'm like, Wilbur, that hurt. So I'm telling you that story so I can tell you this story. So at that time in my life, I'm 22 years old. I have no car. I'm hitchhiking. I got a job. Every morning when I woke up in the morning, my heart would race so fast I thought I was going to jump out of my chest. And it wouldn't stop racing like that till I went to bed at night. And the reason for it was I was so afraid of the future. I could not imagine how I was going to be able to make a living and take care of this kid in this family. I just couldn't picture it. I didn't know. I couldn't envision it ever happening. And so I'd open my eyes in the morning, like that, and it would just stay like that. I lived in trepidation of the future. And I got a job in a nursing home as a janitor. And it turned out to be one of the most important things that ever happened to me. Because every day I would be trying to figure out what kind of man I'm going to be and how I'm going to make a place. I was stepping into my adult life. But every day when I went to work, I was surrounded by 100 people who were on the last page of their story. And I was just drinking it all in. If you live this kind of a life, this is what it looks like at the end. If you live this kind of a life, this is what it looks like at the end. And one side of the building was a guy named Mr. bishop. To this day, still the saddest person I've ever met. Think about that. 68 years old. How many sad people have I met in my life? How many sad people have I met this week, actually, right? But, he's the saddest, and the reason is so interesting. He wasn't a murderer, he wasn't a burglar, he just wasn't kind. He wasn't a nice guy. He wouldn't help anybody. He went to work, he yelled at his kids, he yelled at his wife, he had a few beers, he went hunting, he pushed people out of the way to get the job that he wanted. He just wasn't generous of spirit, and he was just smart enough at the end of his life, when he was only going from the bed to the ground, to know that nothing he did with his time in his life was going to give him any peace. He couldn't look back. Whatever he thought life was about, it wasn't, and he didn't have any kindnesses to look back on and feel good about. And he would have given me his whole life savings. I swear, if I could have sent him backwards for 2 months just to spread I love yous around and let me help yous around, so that he could hold them in his hand at the end and think that he did something with his time that had some value. But he didn't, and there was a cloud over his bed. I hated going in his room. And on the other side of the building was Maddie Campbell. She was 89 in 1979. So she was born in the previous century in rural Maine. And in her room, the sun always was shining. That's what it looked like. I thought she had a southern exposure, but it wasn't that. The light was coming from her, because her life was the opposite. She had decade upon decade of kindness and generosity, and your neighbors are sick, put some soup on a buckboard and drive it through the snow and make sure they have a warm fire and stay all night if they need it. And she just, when she looked back at her life, she didn't need to change 1 minute of it. And she was impossible to look at. She was so bright, and I was not making good decisions back in those days. I'm still not making good decisions, but I was just smart enough to know that if these are my two choices, I gotta figure out how to not be like this guy and how to be like this old woman here, right? And she adopted me. She adopted me. Like, I would get my work done in a couple hours and sit down, bring my guitar in and play songs for her, and she would just teach me this stuff, the wisdoms that were born in 1915 in the most frozen rural places in the world, where your life existence depended on the kindness of strangers and the availability of moose meat, right? And she would just feed them to me, and I would complain to her about how hard my life was. Do you believe that? Like, I feel bad about it now. Like I'm complaining that I had to hitchhike in the snow to work to a woman who didn't see a combustion engine until she was 40, probably, right? And she would just listen with her eyes closed. You know how older folks will do that sometimes? Like the elderly, you think they're sleeping, but they're just listening with their eyes closed. And then I'd be complaining about how hard my life was, and she'd open up one eye and say, "Are you sure you're being honest with yourself?" And I would muster some feeble response, and she would just wave me like this, like, "Go away." She'd say, "I'm tired now, go think about that." And I loved her. Like, she was my best friend. Like, my best friend when I was 22 was 89 years old. Another surreal thing about my life, right? Like she was my best friend. I just loved her. And she would just let me give you an example of the kind of wisdom that she gave me. One day I was complaining to her about how I had to borrow money from my dad. I go, "Maddie, I need $400. I know my dad will give it to me, but I'm so sick of people having to help me. I want to be able to take care of myself." And she said, "It's your responsibility to let the people who love you help you." I go, "It is not my responsibility to do that." She goes, "How do you feel when somebody you love is in trouble and you get to help them?" I go, "That's different." She goes, "Do you like the feeling you get when somebody you love is in trouble and you get to help them?" I go, "Yes." She goes, "Do you love the feeling that you get when somebody you care about is in trouble and you can help them?" I go, "Yes, Maddie Campbell, I love that feeling." She goes, and then she said to me, "Why would you deny the people who love you this feeling that you just told me you love so much?" And I'm telling you, I'm 22 years old, and I felt like something pop in my, like a synapse being created to accommodate a piece of data that I wouldn't have came across on my own till I was 50. And she would just do that, just spoon feed me these little pieces of wisdom, and then tell me to get out, come back tomorrow. Like, I would have loved her if she wasn't funny, but the fact that she was funny just put this cherry on the top of the whole thing. I go in her room one day, she hands me this piece of paper. I go, "What's this?" She goes, "This is my epitaph." I open it up, it's folded. It says, "Here lies Maddie. She had 1,000,000 ills. It wasn't those that killed her. It was the 500,000 pills." And I just adored her. She was my best friend, and I couldn't wait to see her. And we were like, in geometry, how two lines meet like this at one point on their way to different corners of infinity. That's how we were. She was at the end of her life. Nobody ever came to see her. I was the only person she ever talked to, except people giving her pills. And I was on my way out to try to figure out how to be an adult. And we just met at that one time like that. And I just loved her. She was my best friend, right? And then, of course, she died. Right? And I was heartbroken. I had to put on my big boy pants and figure this crap out for myself, and nobody's going to wave me off and tell me to think about it. And a couple nights later, I had a dream. And in the dream, there was Maddie Campbell sitting in a rocking chair, and she had her hands cupped like this, and I walked over to her, and she opened up her hands, and inside of her hands were thousands of sparkling diamonds. And I knew it. I knew what was happening. I didn't, how sometimes in a dream, you know exactly what's happening. And like at 22, in the middle of this dream, I was not confused. I knew exactly what this meant. Any moment in your life when you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, when you do the kind thing because it's the right thing to do, not because you want something back in return, but just because it's the right thing. Any moment like that you have in your life gets compressed into a diamond. And Maddie Campbell's last gift to me at the end of her life was to show me the thousands and thousands of sparkling moments of a life well lived. Not that so I could see how many there were. If there's only one, that's enough. But just so I could see the look of peace on her face at the end of her life as she gazed upon all these kind moments and had peace, and felt good about what she did with her time. And she called me over and said one sentence into my ear, and I've thought about it all my life. And I'm gonna, let her speak through me. She'd be over 130 years old now. You'd have no way of knowing her. Actually, if you're interested, I believe her family, the Campbells, are in a book about Maine called Come Spring. Actually, I believe some parts of that about her family. Anyway, she calls me over and she says right here in my ear this one sentence that I've thought about all my life. She said, in the end, the person with the most diamonds wins.
Person with the most diamonds.
All right, story, song. I was on the highway, I was cruising along, decided to put my seatbelt on. A minute later, baby, would you believe a Big Mac truck crashed into me? I told the policeman that I was okay. He said your seatbelt saved your life today. Ambulance driver, EMTs, they all started singing this song to me. They said it's a great day to not be dead. Shoo-be-doo-wah, shoo-wah, shoo-wah. You have to picture the EMTs like this. Wow. To not cave in your windshield with your head, cave in your windshield with your head. You are an ugly man, but if that occurred, believe me, it would be even uglier. And it's a great day to not be dead. Shoo-be-doo-wah, shoo-wah, shoo-wah. I saw a news, this part right here is from a long time ago, and eventually I'm just going to be able to sing this verse like in nursing homes, I think. But let's see how we do with it, all right? I thought about my carpet. Next news, I saw a news story on my TV set about a guy whose wife brought a knife to bed. Do we remember that guy? What was his name? Mr. Bobbitt, that's right. 1 hour later, as the story goes, a part of his anatomy was laying by the road. Well, my taxi wife looked over, smiled at me, started singing this song to me. She said, hey, it is a great day to not be dead. Shoo-be-doo-wah, shoo-wah, shoo-wah. Not have your wife bring a knife with her to bed. Shoo-be-doo-wah, chop, chop, whoa. She said, I yell, I scream, I complain a lot, but at least I haven't cut no body parts off, and it's a great day to not be dead. Shoo-be-doo-wah, shoo-wah, shoo-wah. Not cutting body parts off is a pretty good quality in a wife, really, when you think about it. You're with somebody tonight, you've been with her any length of time, and you're still put together anatomically the same way you were when you first met. I don't think it's inappropriate to say thank you. Well, look, we're having little tender moments here at the library. It's nice. I thought about my car crash, my close call. Then I started getting sentimental. I said, I love this house, I love you guys. I even love my rusty old car outside. And I'm so happy to be alive with you. Just testing that short-term memory. Let's do all the things we always said that we would do. Because, man, I gotta tell you something, it's a great day. It's a great day. It is a great day. It is a great day. It's a great day to not be dead. All right. Story, song, short story, a little brief story right here. Listen, I have friends that are messed up. But don't think it's one-sided. I have been the messed up friend. I've been on both sides of this thing. So when you have friends that are messed up, you love them. You love them, but they just can't get right. So one day you look out your window and you see your messed up friend, and he's driving a backhoe into your yard, and you think to yourself, this is a new one. And then your messed up friend digs an 8-foot hole in your yard, and then he jumps off his backhoe and he rings your doorbell, and before you get to open the door, he jumps off the porch and down inside the hole that he just dug, and you walk over to your messed up friend in this hole in your yard, and you go, what you doing? And he says, look at this terrible hole I made. And you say to him, I just saw you dig that hole. He said, I didn't dig this hole. I didn't mess up my life. I didn't cause these problems. It wasn't me. It was the pressure. It was the job. It was the world. It was the marriage. It was the kids. It was the government. It was some other outside force messed up my life. And now I'm in this big hole, and everything looks awful from where I am. And what they want, what they always want, is for you to climb in there with them, so you can see how terrible the world looks from where they are. Now, we have been listening to me for longer than anybody should have to, really. So when I say to you that I'm not a genius, I do not expect any arguments from you. The evidence has been laid out for the last hour and a half. But if you walk by and you look down in that hole and you see me and my messed up friend, I don't know what you're going to see, but you're not going to see two Mensa Society candidates down there. So I never do that. What I do instead is I draw a painting of them. Not of how they see themselves, but of how I see them. Because I can see them when their potential has been fulfilled. I can see them when their dreams have come true. I can see them with their wings. And I hold it up like this and I go, this is what I got for you. This is all you get. You can dig holes all over this yard. This is all I can do for you, is show you what you look like to me when your dreams have come true. And what happens, what always happens, is that it infuriates them. They get in their backhoe, and they get in their backhoe, and they go somewhere else. They go over your house. Try to dig a big hole in your yard, see if they can get you in it. But sometimes, not a high percentage of the time it turns out, but let's say 20% of the time, they go away and they get some help. They get somebody to talk to, they get a psychiatrist, they get some medication, they find a group to speak to, they get off whatever narcotics were making their life a mess, they find somebody to handle the depression, whatever it is. They deal with whatever it is. And a year goes by and your doorbell rings, and there on your porch, when you open the door, is this person that you love so much, and they're standing there exactly the way that you drew them. It's a remarkable moment in a person's life when you can look at somebody that you love and say to them, look at you, look how beautiful you are. Are you glad I didn't climb in that hole with you and agree with the terrible way you saw the world? So things are difficult in our world, and there's no way to look at it from the way I see the world and think that it's not going to get more difficult. So it's important, I think, for you all, for us all, to make sure that we prioritize our self-care. And that's my advice to you all. I hope you have lots of people to believe in. I used to think that the most important part of life was to have people who believed in me, but now I think as I've gotten older, the really rich part of living, the part that feels the strongest, the most fulfilling, is to have lots of people whose dreams you can believe in. So I'm going to sing this song. Somebody asked me to sing it. It's called I Know What Love Is. This is going to be the fake ending of the show. There is a little girl with pretty curls. She's about 5 years old, and she is waiting at the gate for her dad to come home. When he pulls around the corner in his shiny white car, she feels the magic light up in her heart. And he picks her up and he holds her. He says he missed her. He's glad that she is here. As the child lays her head on his shoulder, she whispers these words in his ear. And Daddy, I know exactly what love is. Love is real simple and true. Love is this feeling my heart gets when I'm being held close by you. Now she is 20 and there's plenty of love everywhere. She's getting married, so her family and her friends are all there. They've gathered this morning to stand at her side as she waves goodbye to this time in her life. And they each take a moment to hold her and to tell her what she means to them. In a world that seems to keep getting colder, she has been blessed with a warm family and friends. She says, I know exactly what love is. Love is real simple and true. Love is this feeling my heart gets when I'm being held close by you. Now they are older and no one told her it got crazy like this. They're going to night school, they're working jobs too, they're raising 3 kids. The youngest one is crying with a bruise on her knee. She needs attention and she needs sympathy. And when she picks her up and she holds her, that old magic lights up in her heart. And as the child lays her head on her shoulder, she knows exactly why they're working so hard. Little girl, I know exactly what love is. Love is real simple and true. Love is this feeling my heart gets when I'm being held close by you. Now they are 60 and their history spans 40-odd years. They have buried their parents, now their grandkids are here. There's something about the way they look in each other's eyes that speaks softly about the meaning of life. And when he puts his arm out to hold her, it feels so familiar and warm. She thinks love is an expanding endeavor till your last breath from the moment you're born. she is 80 and she hates being in this nursing home. Her man's been gone now for a long while and she feels so alone. She closes her eyes and she begins to pray that a little comfort might just come her way. And God lifts her up and he holds her, and she remembers this feeling she has. She is not a woman whose life is almost over. She's a little girl being held by her dad. And God, I know exactly what love is. Love is real simple and true. Love is this feeling my heart gets when I'm being held close by you. And God, love is real simple. Love is real simple. Love is real simple and true. Thank you for a lovely evening, everyone. All right. Worst comedy show I ever been to. That one. I don't know what to play. I don't know what to do. Thank you for coming out. Hey, remember what I said. Take care of yourselves. You know, like self-care is the only thing I can think of. Is to make sure that that you're not doom scrolling and that you get some sleep and that you're in good shape to deal with any challenges that may be forthcoming. That's weak answer to the problems of the world, but that's all I got. I don't know what to play here. Sing along, all right. Do you feel like singing? You want to sing? All right. Sometimes I live in the country. Sometimes I live in the town. Sometimes I get a great notion that you jump into the river and drown. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Now this song is older than Lead Belly, which is hard to believe. He didn't write this, it's older than him. And the Weavers in the 40s, like the further back you go, the rougher the lyrics get. And the Weavers softened it up, and it was the #1 hit in the entire world in the 40s. Here's a verse. I'm not sure if somebody made this up later or not, but it's definitely one that didn't make it into the Weavers version. Sometimes Irene wears pajamas, and sometimes Irene wears a gown. But when they are both in the laundry, have my birthday show. I think it's my 35th year playing at the Bull Run restaurant out in Shirley, Mass. And that's on March 8th. And I'll have some people singing with me and performing. My son Lauren is going to play with me out there. And then Chris and Meredith Thompson, who are twin women who sing so beautifully. And they'll sing this verse sometimes. So it's not funny if I sing it, but if you can picture them singing it right there, like in a very straight, serious folk style, it goes like this. Stop your rambling, stop gambling, stop staying out late at night, go home to your wife and your family, stop being a jerk, Don White. Irene, good night. Here's the beginning now. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dream. Hey, nicely done. In the right key and everything. Nice job, Diego. Thank you to everybody at the library. Thank you to Art, St. Art over here. I'll be hanging around up by the table if you want to chat.